Okay, so I was presenting this year on advanced measurement techniques for Tesla coils. I've been working on Tesla energy research now as AM Innovations for over 20 years. So in 20 years you acquire quite a lot of experience and knowledge in this area. And one of the unique aspects that AM Innovations has developed is working with vector network analyzers to measure and characterize Tesla coils and complex Tesla coils. So Tesla coils that are designed for telluric transmission, for Tesla's radiant energy and matter, for novel plasma effects, and also for one of the groundbreaking results that's been generated and hasn't been seen since Eric Dollard did in the 90s, which is the fractal Fern discharge. That's a series that I call the real work of nature, and I was able to bring everything together at ESTC 2022 under the presentation that I gave. So I was first able to share what is important about doing Tesla research. Secondly, how to go about characterizing and measuring Tesla coils. And then third, to present the results of building those Tesla coils and the groundbreaking and new results that they bring. And I was able to successfully demonstrate for the first time that I think anybody has seen since Eric Dollard displayed this in the 90s. Everybody was able to see that effect live. And what's important about that effect is it reveals an underlying order or nature to electricity. So the fractal Fern is where you have a specific relationship between the, shall we say, the dielectric and magnetic fields of induction around a Tesla coil. And when the relationship is correct, under the right conditions, you can expose an inner layer. You peel off the outer layer of electricity, and you can see a fractal, which is a self-repeating, self-similar type structure, which we see in the natural world in many places. And that suggests that underlying electricity is principles that are in alignment with the natural order on our planet. And that's very exciting because electricity hasn't been viewed in that way before. And by continuing this research, we can delve deeper and deeper into what is the true nature of electricity, what is its purpose. Outside the normal purpose that we understand, what is its purpose in the grand scheme of things, and also to understand life and ourselves better through understanding the natural order that both surrounds us and is in us. So this was really a very exciting year, and a lot of other presenters also had very similar things to share from their own presentations. So it feels like this conference this year is the beginning of a new cycle, not only for the Energy Science and Technology Conference, but also for the researchers that contribute, and in time, hopefully also a raising of awareness in our field of the new science, and a general raising of awareness to the natural order within humanity and society. Okay, when I'm in the UK, I have two things that I do. One is I actively research for AM Innovations in Tesla energy research. That is a not-for-profit organisation that does open source research. It is self-funded and obviously also works on support and donations. The other thing that I do is also, in order to fund the research, I do all sorts of consulting work for different types of companies. That allows me to fund the research, the fundamental research, which is also so important because in the end, to do this kind of research, you need to be able to research freely without the restrictions that sometimes come with commercial projects, without the milestones and often returns that are required on financial investments, all of those kinds of things that somehow make fundamental basic research more difficult to do in the modern world. So self-funding is a huge part of the research, and I think that keeps it it makes it possible to stay as pure as possible to what it is that you want to find without hidden agendas or expectations. So that is what I do in the UK. Well, I was always fascinated by science, engineering, and technology. My father was an engineer before me, so I grew up with all of these, with the fascination, basically the quest for knowledge, which is science, really, the true quest for knowledge. And I worked in a number of different areas. I worked in university research. I worked in commercial consultancy, technology consultancy, and then really about just over 20 years ago, I became interested in Tesla, in Edwin Gray, in the work of people like Peter Lindemann, Eric Dollard, and that really just started from there. I felt in myself that I could contribute to the new science, and I wanted to see whether it's possible to solve the challenge of regenerative energy. We are facing more and more crises in this world regarding energy, its costs, and we all rely on those resources. Ultimately, they come through regenerative energy. So, working to explore, research, and, if possible, to find solutions to that, sustainable solutions that could help this world, was something that was very motivating and very inspiring for me. And that's really now 20 years on. I can say there's a lot of experiments done, a lot of things learned. I often feel like I know less than when I started, and it's been a great journey, and the journey continues. Whether or not I will be able to solve that, working with like-minded people at ESTC, who knows? It's in the unknown. It would be, for example, where you can gain an improvement in electrical efficiency. So, for example, if you can produce devices and products which are more efficient with electricity than the devices we currently have, so even if it's a small saving, I mean, if you can save 10% of the electricity that you draw in your house, based on some of the research that we've been doing, and everyone has, or a large number of people have those things in their house at a reasonable cost, then you are making a very significant contribution to where we find ourselves in the energy crisis. ESTC is unique in that respect. It draws, it's based on the long work of Aaron, who knows so many people, has brought together many diverse experts for many years, and really, for me, it's the only choice currently in terms of a place to meet like-minded people, to share on the cutting edges of research, and this is also research that's not necessarily accepted by conventional science. So ESTC is an open forum to be able to explore some of the most diverse principles, and I'll give you an example of that. The bridge, for example, between science and natural philosophy. It was something that most of the great pioneers of science in antiquity, they were all natural philosophers as well. They were exploring life as part of the science and engineering and art and so many different endeavours that they did in order to basically explore life, explore themselves through life. And ESTC is an opportunity to be able to do that, because you don't get that out there in the world. The world is very focused. In some ways, it's very commercially driven. There's always an agenda that needs to be accomplished. So being able to explore with like-minded people at ESTC is very unique. It's very much to Aaron's credit for all of us that he's made it possible. If you want to look at AM Innovation's research work, it's all open source, it's all documented, it's all free to use, and you can find it at am-innovations.com. We are a not-for-profit, self-funded, so we also have a link there for donations if you would like to donate for the research. Again, I say we self-fund it ourselves, and we rely on the resources that you provide as well. So, and in that way, we can put all of our research out into the open source, which I think is incredibly important in this, if we can say, in this new era. Being able to share the advancements, to be able to for other people to test, to look at conjectures, to work through our conclusions. In a way, by putting things in the open source, you are expanding the community. So that's how we grow as well. So, I mean, when you try to keep something to yourself, people don't know about it, you are naturally not growing a community of like-minded people. So by working in the open source, making things available, having discussions with people, you are actually helping to grow the community, and more people will end up coming to ESTC. So it's not for everybody, but I believe that it is the way forward for how research really needs to go. Electromagnetism, say, so the understanding of electric and magnetic field currently in science has been developed to a very high degree. I mean, that's why we have all the electronics that we have, products, everything like that. So a lot has been accomplished there, but also science considers electromagnetism to be largely already answered. So there's not much more left to discover. But that is not what we find here in ESTC, in the work that I do, the electricity research, is that we are looking at electricity at a deeper level. So there are principles, for example, those are principles shared by people like Nikola Tesla, researchers like Eric Dollard, and the work that I do, the research that Innovations does, that show that there is much more to that. So as an example of that, if we look at our understanding of even electricity from the transverse electromagnetic case and the longitudinal magnetodielectric. One is a transverse wave, which science knows all about. The longitudinal electricity, which potentially can have lower losses. It can lead to energy savings. It can lead to quite amazing and unusual properties, which are not understood that clearly at this time. So, and it also it has the possibility to contribute to regenerative energy. So, in actual fact, understanding both the transverse, and you can't do away with the transverse. The transverse has its place, but you have to have both. So, understanding the relationship between those two is critically important if we're going to be able to solve the regenerative energy problem, or rather that we're going to find a solution to how to do regenerative energy. And so it's that we do, and it's that's important to have ESTC for, important to have the not-for-profit funding, and working in a free and open way, disseminating, sharing, getting together. It's those kinds of things that we need to do, and that's how we need to work.